Building materials. Wood is one of the oldest building materials on Earth, but few people realize that wooden structures can last longer than concrete and steel. In Japan, there are wooden temples that have stood for over 1,000 years. Their secret is simple. Wood bends. When an earthquake hits a concrete building, it cracks. A wooden frame moves with the earth and survives. Traditional Japanese joints do not use a single nail. The parts interlock through precise cuts, no metal and no glue. Just wood fitting into wood so perfectly that the structure only gets stronger over time as it naturally settles. And in Norway, 12th century wooden churches are still standing thanks to clever protection. They were treated with natural resin against moisture and insects. But wood is not just for historical monuments. It is the foundation of absolutely any construction. Massive wooden pillars have served as reliable load-bearing supports for centuries. Complex frame structures and roof truss systems are built from wood, capable of withstanding tons of snow and the strongest gusts of wind. Dense plywood is widely used to level floors and provide sturdy wall sheathing. And to protect the house from the cold and allow the walls to breathe, structures are filled with natural wood insulation, which maintains an ideal indoor microclimate. Interior. The chair you sit on, the table you eat at, the bed you sleep in, the door you open every morning. For most of human history, all of it was wood. Studies show that rooms with exposed wood surfaces reduce stress levels. Your heart rate drops, your breathing slows. Wood also regulates humidity naturally. It releases moisture when the air is dry and absorbs it when the air is humid. A wooden room breathes alongside the people living in it. Cedar is used for wardrobes because its oils repel moths. Hardwoods are used for staircases because they handle decades of use without wearing down. Wooden doors insulate sound and temperature better than any synthetic alternative. Epoxy resin tables are one of the most creative uses today. A craftsman pours transparent resin into a natural crack in wood. The result looks like a frozen river running through it. No two tables are identical, and look at car interiors. Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Mercedes. They use real wood panels on dashboards and door trims. Everything is hand-cut and polished. Wood makes a car feel like a living room. Things. Wooden spoons, cutting boards, bowls and rolling pins. Wooden kitchen tools have been used for thousands of years, and they are still preferred today. Wood does not scratch pans. It does not conduct heat. Bamboo and walnut have natural antibacterial properties. Plastic simply does not have them. Wooden combs distribute natural oils from the roots, and there is no static electricity. Bamboo toothbrushes are replacing plastic ones. That is because bamboo grows back in just a few months. Wood creates music, violins, guitars, pianos, and drums. The best instruments are made from specific types of wood. They are chosen for their perfect resonance. A Stradivarius violin was made 300 years ago, but it still produces sounds that no modern material can replicate. Craftsmen carve souvenirs and sculptures from solid blocks of wood. Each piece is absolutely unique, because no two pieces of wood have the exact same grain pattern. Paper also comes from wood. Every book, every newspaper, every cardboard package, it is all processed wood fiber. What once grew in the forest becomes a surface that carries human knowledge. And in some parts of the world, people still carve entire boats from a single trunk. One tree, one tool, one boat, a tradition that is thousands of years old. Almost everything made of plastic was once made of wood. But wood lasts longer. It looks better with age. And most importantly, it does not end up polluting the ocean. Fruits. Apples, oranges, mangoes and cherries, pears, coconuts, and avocados. Some of the most consumed foods on Earth grow on trees. With proper care, a single apple tree can bear fruit for over 100 years. The olive tree is one of the oldest cultivated plants in the world. Some olive trees in the Mediterranean are over 2,000 years old, and they still produce olives. Their oil is used in food, cosmetics, and medicine. The cacao tree produces pods containing seeds. These seeds are fermented, dried, roasted, and ground. This is how chocolate is made. Every chocolate bar in the world starts with a tree. The coffee tree produces small, red berries. Inside each berry are 2 seeds. They are roasted and ground. This is the coffee that half the world drinks every morning. Walnuts, almonds, pistachios, and cashews, all from trees. Figs, dates, and pomegranates also grow on trees. Even spices like cinnamon and nutmeg come from trees. And the banana is technically not a tree, but a giant herb. It produces one bunch of fruit and dies, but a new plant immediately grows from its roots. It replaces itself automatically. Most people just walk past trees without a second thought, but one such tree can feed an entire family for 100 years. Energy. Charcoal is wood that has been slowly burned without oxygen. What remains burns hotter, cleaner, and longer than raw wood, and with almost no smoke. That is why people still choose charcoal for barbecue instead of gas. The smoke from the wood penetrates the meat and completely changes its flavor. Gas simply cannot do that. A campfire is one of the oldest human gatherings. People have sat by a wood fire for hundreds of thousands of years. The heat, the light, the sound, nothing artificial can recreate it. Even today, people specifically leave noisy cities just to sit by a real campfire. Wood pellets are compressed sawdust and wood waste. They burn so efficiently that power plants in Europe have switched from coal to wood pellets. This really reduces carbon emissions. The waste of one industry becomes clean fuel for another, and most importantly, wood does what neither coal nor gas can do. It grows back. A properly managed forest is an energy source that never runs out. Medicine. Aspirin is one of the most used medicines in the world. It was originally made from willow bark. People in ancient Egypt, Greece, and China chewed willow bark to reduce fever and pain, thousands of years before anyone understood why it worked. Eventually, scientists isolated the active compound and turned it into the pill we know today. But the tree knew it first. The cinchona tree saved millions of lives. Its bark contains quinine, the first effective treatment for malaria. For centuries, malaria was one of the deadliest diseases on Earth. The cinchona tree from South America changed that. Entire armies survived in tropical climates thanks to the bark of a single tree. Tea tree oil comes from the leaves of the Australian tea tree. It kills bacteria, fungi, and viruses on contact. Indigenous Australians used it for thousands of years. Now, it is an ingredient in cosmetics sold all over the world. The Pacific yew produces a unique compound. It is called Taxol. This is one of the most effective anti-cancer drugs ever discovered. It is found nowhere else in nature, only in this tree. And eucalyptus oil clears the airways and reduces inflammation. It is used in medicines, chest rubs, and throat lozenges all over the world. Latex. Make a cut in the bark of a rubber tree, and a white liquid slowly begins to drip. This is latex. Natural rubber, a material that changed the modern world forever. Every tire, every surgical glove, every rubber band, they all started out as this liquid. The tree is tapped by making a diagonal cut in the bark. The latex drips into a cup below. The tree is not harmed at all. The exact same tree can be used for 30 years. Surgeons wear gloves made of latex, and airplane tires are made from natural rubber because it withstands extreme temperature, changes much better than any synthetic material. The rubber tree was originally found only in the Amazon. Indigenous people used latex for waterproof boots and balls, centuries before Europeans arrived. When Europeans discovered it, they brought the seeds to Asia and built a massive industry that now covers millions of hectares. The latex foam inside your mattress, the pillow under your head, the elastic in your clothes. It all started with a small cut in a tree and a white liquid dripping into a cup. Resin. When a tree is damaged, it bleeds, but not blood. It bleeds resin, a thick, sticky liquid that seals the wound. It kills bacteria and protects the tree from insects and diseases. It is the real immune system of the tree. Ancient Egyptians used tree resin to preserve mummies. The resin sealed the body from air and bacteria so effectively that mummies have remained intact for thousands of years. Scientists have even found traces of resin from trees that no longer exist in those regions. Pine resin was used to waterproof wooden ships for centuries. Every single ship that sailed in the ancient world, Greek, Roman, or Viking, they were all sealed with tree resin. Without it, the ships would have rotted in a matter of months. Amber is fossilized tree resin. It is millions of years old. Inside some pieces of amber, you can find perfectly preserved insects, plants, and even tiny animals that lived long before humans. Scientists extract DNA from them to study ancient life. The liquid that dripped from a tree millions of years ago became the perfect time capsule. Frankincense and myrrh are mentioned in ancient texts. They were traded across empires, burned in religious ceremonies for thousands of years. Both of them are just tree resins, and they remain valuable to this day. Modern varnishes, glues, and coatings used in furniture, musical instruments, and electronics. They all come from one basic principle: resin that protects. Juice and syrup. Birch sap is collected simply. A small hole is drilled in the trunk, and a tap is inserted. The sap begins to drip slowly. It is slightly sweet, slightly mineral, and absolutely clear. Across Eastern Europe and the former Soviet space, people collect it every spring and drink it right at the tree. It is also fermented, becoming a light beverage called berezovitsa. Palm trees produce their own sweet liquid. It is called palm toddy. It is collected from the palm flower right before it blooms. In Southeast Asia and Africa, it is drunk fresh or fermented into real palm wine. Famous maple syrup comes from the sugar maple. In early spring, the tree moves stored sugar up from its roots. Farmers drill a small hole in the trunk and insert a tap. It takes about 40 liters of raw sap to produce just 1 liter of syrup. The sap is boiled down until most of the water evaporates. What is left is a thick, sweet liquid with a beautiful amber color. Today, Canada produces most of the world's maple syrup. One tree, one tap, and one of the most valuable liquids that nature can provide. Sawdust. When a tree is sawn into boards, a huge amount of material is left over. This includes sawdust, wood chips, bark, and offcuts. For a long time, this was considered waste, but that is not true. Sawdust pressed under high temperature and pressure becomes MDF. These are flat panels used in almost every piece of budget furniture, in every kitchen cabinet, and every office desk. IKEA built an entire global business on this concept. Sawdust from specific trees is used for smoking meat, fish, and cheese, oak, cherry, hickory, and apple. Each type of wood gives its own unique flavor. The sawdust that falls on the floor of a sawmill ends up helping prepare smoked salmon in a nice restaurant. Farmers spread sawdust on the floor of stables and pens. It serves as excellent bedding for livestock. It absorbs moisture and keeps the animals warm. The same sawdust then mixes with manure and becomes useful compost. In gardens, sawdust is spread between plants as mulch. It slows down water evaporation, suppresses weeds, and slowly decomposes into fertilizer. Finally, sawdust absorbs liquids faster than almost anything else. Workshops and factories often use it to quickly clean up industrial spills. Perfume. Some of the most expensive fragrances in the world come from trees. Sandalwood produces an oil with a warm, creamy, and woody scent. It lingers on the skin for hours. The tree takes 30 years to mature before harvesting. That is exactly why sandalwood oil costs more than most precious metals by weight. Oud comes from a specific tree in Southeast Asia. When it gets infected by a certain type of mold, it produces a dark, resinous wood. This is a natural defense mechanism. The scent is deep, complex, and unlike anything else in nature. It is the most expensive natural ingredient in the perfume industry. Cedar oil has been used in perfumery for thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians used it as a base for their perfumes. Today it is found in countless colognes and cosmetics around the world. Pine, eucalyptus, and frankincense. All of these come from trees. The forest does not just smell good. It provides the ingredients that make everything else smell amazing. Storage. The baobab tree in Africa takes this to the extreme. Some trunks are so massive that communities hollow them out from the inside. They use them to store thousands of liters of water. Some went even further. They created actual rooms inside a living tree. One baobab in South Africa was used as a pub. Another was used as a prison. And the tree remained completely alive. Oak barrels changed the way the world drinks. Wine stored in oak absorbs special compounds. These add notes of vanilla, spices, and a complexity that grapes alone cannot produce. Whiskey gets its amber color and most of its flavor from the barrel. It sits in there for years. Without wood, there would be no aged wine. There would be no whiskey. There would be no bourbon. Cedar naturally repels insects and controls humidity. Clothes kept in cedar chests can survive for decades without any damage. In Japan, tea is stored in Paulownia wood boxes. The wood regulates humidity so precisely that it keeps the tea fresh for years.